Hey folks, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is YellowHat, and today we are going to go over the brand new Pavlov update that just released last week. More specifically, though, for this video, we're going to go over all of the different weapon balance changes that occur because let me tell you, there is quite a lot of them. And so everything from pistols and shotguns and SMGs and even some of the ARs got modified in a way to make them a little bit more effective. So today, we're going to go ahead. We've got our weapons lined up right here. We have some test dummies in the back if we need to do some damage examples. But first, we've got, of course, the 5.7. Now, with the 5.7, and you'll notice with a lot of other changes that happened, a lot of them are specifically to the weapon's economy, so that really only affects search and destroy and not the other game modes. But a lot of weapons did also receive some damage changes that will affect all other modes as well. So the 5.7, it had a slight kill bonus increase from 300 to 400. So now every time you kill somebody with the 5.7, you get 400 bucks a kill, making it a little bit more profitable to use. The revolver was changed, but we're going to go over that later because it did have a big change that I want to basically explain at a later point. So that's going to move us, of course, to our SMGs here. And so the first one that was changed, of course, was the Chris Vector. This is a T-side or attacking side SMG, and two things happened with this. First, its kill bonus was increased from 100 all the way up to 600 to make it a viable anti-eco choice that puts it ahead economically of the Draco, which is all the way down there. But on top of that too, it also had its fall-off modifier increased to 0.85. Now, what does that mean? So the fall-off modifier, to very briefly explain, is the percentage of damage that will be done at the weapon's maximum range. So if I pop it into single fire here, this is about the max range of the Vector. I think it's actually a little bit closer, but with it being originally 0.8, it would have been doing 16 damage or so. And now, with it being 0.85, you can see now it's 17 damage. And why is that significant? Basically, this makes this gun one less shot to kill at range because 17 is the minimum damage you need for a 6-hit body shot against unarmored players. Now, against armor, this thing is still pretty rough to use, but against unarmored players, which is what you'd be using this for most of the time anyways, this gets a bit of a buff, so it's going to be way more consistent, and now you have another fast-firing, viable anti-eco choice on the attacking side. So that's Vector. Next gun that received a bit of a buff as well is the MP5. Now, this is one of 3 CT side SMGs here, and so originally it was $1,600 and it gave $400 per kill. That has been modified, of course. This is now down to $1,400, as you can see right here. And on top of that, it receives $600 per kill, putting it right in between the UMP, which gives the most eco, but has a pretty slow firing bullet, and the AR9, which is over there, which is the most damaging of the 3 CT SMGs, but doesn't give as much money per kill. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more MP5 usage, and I think this weapon definitely succeeds more at the mid-range, especially where the bullet travels a little bit faster, and it has a higher fire rate to boot as well, and a larger mag than the UMP, so it's better at dealing with multiple enemies. Next up, we have the P90, and just simply put, this is the fastest firing SMG in the entire game, and this received a small kill bonus increase from $300 to $400. So you will still need 5 kills with it to completely profit off of it, but now it's a little bit more viable if you want to spend a little bit of extra cash after a first round win. Now let's move over to the AR9, which received a small nerf in its economy. This is due to the fact that it now costs $1,500 as opposed to $1,400, which puts it a little bit more expensive than the MP5, as we just mentioned. But basically, the AR9 is a beefed up version of the UMP damage-wise. So of the 3 SMGs, this is probably the most damaging of the 3 SMGs, but the economy balances it out. So now, if you're winning pistol round on the defense in search and destroy, now you have a decision between the UMP, which gives you your most bang for your buck, but struggles a bit at range with the bullet drop that it has. You have the fastest firing option of the MP5, and also pretty economically wise. And then you also have the AR-9, which is the best of the 3 SMGs, and on top of that, it can be used in force buy situations as well. Thing is basically a little mini M4 in a way. It takes a couple more body shots, but to the head, this is a 2-tap, so it works out really well. But now, again, you have to choose between the 3 SMGs, and I think there's reasons to choose all of them. So that about does it for the SMGs. The only one that's kind of different as well, this is the VSS, and the VSS is kind of like a hybrid AR SMG sort of a deal. It's also integrally suppressed, if you weren't aware of that already. But basically what happened to this weapon is that its kill bonus was increased from 200 up to 300 to match the likes of the Galil, which is over there, and the FAMAS. And on top of that, it also received a fall-off modifier increased to 0.85, which actually this thing has quite the range. There we go. So it will do 17 damage at long ranges. So again, no more than a 6-hit kill against unarmored players. So the VSS can also be a very good force buy weapon if you're playing up close and don't quite have the money for that AK. Now, before we get to the ARs and everything here, I just want to briefly go over a couple weapons that had the same changes. So the SCAR and the SKS both had their kill bonuses increased from 100 to 300, making them a little bit more viable of choices. And the SCAR is also 2600 now. So again, if you're the type of player that prefers a single shot weapon versus the full auto assault rifle, but something a little bit more damaging, you can definitely try those out. On top of that too, the LMGs, both the PKM and the M249 have had their kill bonuses increased from 100 to 300 as well. Now they're both, this one's 3,500, this one's 3,000. They're still very expensive in their own right, but now you're not completely screwing over your own economy by purchasing one of these, so give them a shot. Now, before we get over to the assault rifles, let's go over the shotguns because all of them had changes as well. So starting off with the SPAS 12. First, we increased the kill bonus from 100 up to 600. What that means is that this is now a viable anti-eco weapon in a semi-automatic shotgun as opposed to, trying to be fast with the pump action. Now you have something that you can spam a little bit, and it's pretty effective as well because the fall-off modifier is also increased from 0.67 up to 0.85. As you can see, even at this long range for the shotgun, which is kind of impractical to use it at, you're doing 13 damage a pellet as opposed to like 10 or 11. So what that means, and we'll use our test dummies here, you can still do pretty good amounts of damage if you're within like this distance, up close. You don't have to be point blank on them, but But, 2 or 3 shotgun shots should suffice in general. So the SPAS 12, definitely give it a try if you're somebody that likes to play up close and you're going up against players that are unarmored. Now, the Sega 12 now only costs 2,800. And on top of that too, the SPAS 12 only costs 1,600 now. I should mention that. But the Sega 12 has been dropped to $2,800, and its kill bonus also increased to $600 per kill. And on top of that, also received a damage modifier increase up to 0.85 from 0.67. So, especially with this being a fully automatic shotgun, it is rightfully priced at an expensive price, but both of these shotguns have definitely seen an increase in their consistency. On top of that, I should also mention that both the SPAS 12 and the Sega 12, their fall-off distance starts at 7.5 meters now as opposed to 5 meters, and it doesn't reach its minimum damage until 12.5 meters, and that's for both of these shotguns as well. So you're going to notice that these shotguns are going to feel a little bit more consistent if you're fighting close quarters in a room or whatnot. But of course, let's go to the pump shotgun, because the pump shotgun also received a buff in its actual fall-off modifier. It did not receive an increase in the actual fall-off distances, because I believe they were also, 7.5 to 12.5 meters. So now this weapon is doing 14 damage and about 90% of its damage at range, because the fall-off modifier, instead of it being 0.67, is now 0.9. So even at the max range, granted all your pellets are hitting, each individual pellet is doing 90% of its regular damage. So even at this distance, you can pretty much two-tap somebody with a shotgun, and, when you get a little bit further away, it might be a three-tap. As you even saw there, this distance was still a two-tap. It really depends on how many of the pellets hit, and the pump shotgun does shoot more pellets. It does shoot 10 as opposed to the 6 that the Sega and the Spaz shoot, but ultimately speaking, you might be able to play this really well up close, as, again, it's doing 90% of its damage. So the pump shotgun is definitely going to feel a little bit better. Now, of course, to our last shotgun, the double barrel, or the sawed-off. Now, this weapon has had a slight tweak in its performance, in that its fall-off modifier has been increased from 0.33 to 0.34. Doesn't really matter too much, gives it a little bit more oomph. Not even really, though. What really gives this the oomph, though, is that its actual fall-off distance has increased from 2.5, being the minimum, up to 3.5. And then on top of that, the maximum distance has increased from 5 up to 7.5 meters. So you're going to notice when you're playing up close like this, you're going to be able to one-hit people a little bit more consistently. Now, when you're outside of that range, this is probably a little bit more than 7 meters. You might require the full 2 shots. And then you get a little bit further than that, it might be more shots than that. But at the same time, too, the sawed-offs are meant to be dual-wielded. So if you're playing dual-wield sawed-offs, you can really do a number on a team if you're hiding around a corner or something like that. And this is really good at also, playing anti-knife. Somebody's rushing you with a knife or something, you just one-tap them before they get too close to you. So sawed-off, definitely going to be a nice little save round weapon, or if you like to play really up close and personal, might be a good choice for you. Now we're going to get to the assault rifles, because we've covered pretty much the DMRs, the SMGs. We still have the revolver to go over, which we will get to that, don't worry. And then we covered the shotguns as well. So let's start off with the G3. The G3 is the CT one-tap headshot weapon of choice, and it simply has had its kill bonus increase from 100 to 300. It was never changed from 100 from when this used to be a single-shot DMR, but now you get 300 bucks a kill. So if you want to play with this weapon and main it instead of the M4, you're not losing as much money per kill as if you were to regularly use the M4. So G3 gets a little bit of an eco buff, doesn't really affect the other modes, and quite honestly, it's good enough in its own right. I mean, has really clear iron sights and the capability to one-tap. Can't ask for anything more than that. Now, the AK-12 is the only AR to have really received a damage buff. We will get to the FAMAS and the Revo again in a sec, but the AK-12, what happened with it is that the helmet bleed, or the helmet pen number, has changed from 74 to 75. Now, what in the heck does that mean? So traditionally, with it being at 74, when you pop somebody's helmet, assuming this player had full health, you would have done 74 damage. And since this does 25 damage to the body, that means that you would require only 2 body shots to kill. Now, with it being 75, it's 1 and 1. So all you need is a single headshot and a single body shot. For the longest time, this thing sucked. And before that, it used to be one of the best guns in the entire game. Now, it's like pretty good. The FAMAS is priced at $2,300, as, it has been for a while. And it has been the CT equivalent of the Galil. Meant to be like a secondary assault rifle if you need to force spy, but it can function in its own right. Now, the FAMAS has had a couple of significant changes to it. First, the FAMAS has received a kill bonus increase from 200 to 300 to match all the other assault rifles, so economically it's really good at generating cash. 2, its fall-off modifier has been increased from 0.75 out to 0.85. And I'm going to have to get pretty far from here because its fall-off ranges have also been increased greatly too. So we're going to go back to here and... oh wow, it's even further than that. So as you can see, 17 is the minimum damage it will do, meaning that against unarmored players, it will be no more than a 6-hit body shot. So it's 5 normally and then drops down to 6. The actual ranges of the FAMAS have been greatly increased. The minimum fall-off distance going from 10 meters out to 25 meters, and then the maximum distance going out from 35 all the way to 50 meters. So this weapon will carry its full performance for a pretty long time, I would say, even past a little bit the 25 meters. But as you can see here, even at this distance, which is definitely where it would have swapped over, we're going to make sure we're in single. There we go. Still a 6-hit to the body, which it normally is up close, and we'll even get a little bit further. And at this point, this is where it's about a 7-hit, which, you know, this is greater than 25 meters, give or take. The fact that it carries that 6-hit potential for quite some time means that it's really easy just to kind of spray people down, and the FAMAS functions excellently up in close to medium ranges. And it's also a really easy gun to control as well, but as we can see here from this damage board here, it's doing 20 damage still. Now, I don't know if the damage board is totally accurate in terms of distance, but, you know, the actual fall-off modifier is to start at 25 meters, and then you have to kind of go all the way back here, and then even a little bit further back. As you can see, right when it hits that 50-meter point is when it's dropping down to about 17 damage. So the FAMAS, still an excellent choice to use overall, and has been buffed from its severely nerfed state, and in all honesty is probably one of the better assault rifle picks at this point as well. So give the FAMAS a try. It finally got some love after almost like 4 years of being nerfed, so we'll see how people use it. Now, lastly, and I'm sure everybody's curious about this one, the revolver. The revolver has had a damage increase and a armor penetration decrease. And what this does is essentially it is a rework of the revolver. So by increasing it to 55 damage, as you can see there, what that does is that when this hits its fall-off distance of 10 meters, which is where it starts dropping damage, it's still going to stay above 50 damage because it's at 55 damage. And what that means is that as long as a weapon does 50 damage, it's a 2-hit. So I think you can back up a little bit. And as you can see here, right about that 17-ish meter to 20 meter is where it will fall below the 2-hit. Now, that's against unarmored. Against armored, because it's now only doing 95% of its full damage through armor because of the armor pen reduction. Against armored players, it stays relatively the same, albeit it gets a couple meters to its 2-hit range. So we're going to use our dummies over here, and unfortunately none of them are able to not have armor, so this will be what the armor distance looks like. But as you can see, that's still a 2-hit. And then we back up a little bit here. And as you can see, this is a 3-hit at that point. And if we get a little bit closer, that's a 2-hit. Now, pre-buff, that would have most likely been a 3-hit. So against armored players, you're getting a couple extra meters in distance. But against unarmored players is where you get the most significant buff. So again, So right about that 17 to 18 meter distance is where the revolver falls below 50 damage, meaning that it will be a 2-hit up until that point, and then anything after 17 or 18 meters is where it falls below to a 3-hit against unarmored players. So what that does is essentially makes the revolver really good on pistol rounds if you want something that's, an effective 2-tap. And on top of that too, it gets a little bit of a buff against armored players, meaning that it is a very good save weapon yet again. So if you didn't like the revolver before because its 2-tap range was not good enough, give it a try, because this thing is pretty solid to use. And again, it especially is good on pistol round now due to the fact that it's a 2-tap pretty much out to this distance, right? From where I'm standing up to that wall. Definitely give the revolver a try. It's been buffed overall and you will not regret it. But I think in terms of the update in general, that should be it in terms of balance changes. The only other thing, and for our M4 enjoyers here, is that when you put any of the sights on, a red dot, hollow, canted, ACOG, sniper scope, whatever you want to put on it, you will now not lose any kill bonus from when you have this attachment on. Grips like the angled grip and the vertical grip and the suppressor still do reduce kill bonus, as they directly affect the weapon performance. If I have an angled grip on here, it reduces the horizontal recoil. If I have the vertical grip on here, it's going to reduce that vertical recoil. So since they directly affect performance, it's only fair. Suppressors, they make it really easy to spam through walls and hide your location to a certain degree. So with that said, now that sights don't reduce kill bonus, you're losing less eco for having one on there. On top of that too, just a quick little change. Previously, the vertical grip, would take away $150, and now it only takes away $100 per kill, matching the angled grip that pretty much everybody knows and loves. So if you want to use the vertical grip, although the angled grip is still more of a recoil reduction, you can go ahead and use it and be economically the same. So with that said, that's going to do it for this video. I do thank you all for watching, and I hope you like the different style of me just kind of going through and showing things off instead of doing things a little more scripted. If you like this style video, let me know. If you want me to go back to scripted, that's perfectly fine too. I'm happy with either. Just wanted to try something different. But if you have any questions about the damage changes, feel free to let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, also feel free to let me know in the comments. But otherwise, I do thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope to see y'all in the next video. Take it easy.